r/off my chest. Jaybird037000 says, I don't want to get married to my fianc anymore. I 25 female and my fianc 30 male have been together since I was 18. I love him. He is my best friend. Yet, I no longer want to be with him. For years I had been begging him to propose. All I ever wanted was to be his wife. For 7 years my parents pestered me on when he would pop the question. When he did, he didn't even get on one knee or say something romantic. He just handed me his grandmother's ring and asked if I was happy now. At the time I was over the moon. I rushed to my parents' house with hearts in my eyes. It has now been 6 months since then, and the hearts are no longer blocking my vision. I see now that I was given a shut-up ring. He wants nothing to do with the wedding. He doesn't even want to look at my Pinterest board or weddings venues online. He doesn't care. I went on vacation with my family this past week. He was unable to come because of work. And in that 1 week without him, I felt so free. I also realized just how different our life goals are. He wants a large family in a neighborhood where all the houses look the same. I want no kids and a cabin in the mountains. I want a dog and farm animals. I want to travel and see the world. He likes to sit on the couch and watch TV. I'm 25 years old and went to a bar for the first time last week. I'm 25 years old and never went to college because he told me it wasn't worth it. I'm 25 years old and I have nothing. I love him and he is my best friend, but I don't want to marry him. What do I do? Black Mesa G says, I think you know the answer to your own question. You don't need us to tell you. It's going to be painful and it's going to suck, but you know what to do. Unkindragood says, absolutely agree with all of this. You know what you want to do, you just need to say the words aloud to him, and then prepare for things to hurt for a while. Change is super scary, and the idea of leaving something you know, even if it is a less than ideal situation, for something unknown is never comfortable. However, it will get better, as evidenced by the week you spent without him. 3. Roseat 1001 says, I would recommend telling someone else first, someone you love and trust who you know wants the best for you. Ask them for help. Once you've said it out loud, it's easier and becomes more real. Bugsy Girl 252 says, sounds like you are outgrowing him. Spread your wings and go get the life you imagined. Drazuiork says, I see this a lot in age gap relationships and relationships that start when one of them is of the legal age. It's sad to see, but hopefully she can get out and experience the world. I see Sky7521 says, and in a lot of same age relationships that start when people are teenagers. Upper Recognition 855 says, it sounds like the issues run much deeper than merely the marriage thing. You need to think long and hard about what's more important to you. Being with him or having the life you want. 25 is still young enough to make up for lost time and possibly find someone more aligned with your goals. Killamakechili says, agreed. 25 is the very beginning of time. None has been lost. Fekdech says, I think there's a problem much greater than that. He wants kids. She doesn't. If her family pressured her for the engagement, they'll pressure for kids. This is doomed to fail. R/off my chest. Entertainment Talk 7877 says, my boyfriend of almost 4 years broke up with me after going to a party. Please help me understand Reddit. I 18F decided to go to a local house party for the first time ever. Personally, that's not my thing and I usually just stay home and keep to myself when it come to that sort of thing. But this night I decided why not go. I do not drink or smoke, So I was literally just going to see what it was about. I told my 17m boyfriend that I was going. I actually asked him if he would like to go. He said no, then I said okay and left it at that. He then sent me a text saying, if I end up single by the end of the night, don't be surprised. I was confused because I have never done anything for him to act this way. So I called and asked, what are you talking about? And he just kept going on about if I go. And all this, keep in mind, me and my friends were literally out the door. The party was down the street from my friend's house, so I went. I went for about 20 minutes, nothing happened. I stood on the wall, we leave. He tries to text me to apologize, then gets mad because I still went to the party. Like I said, keep in mind I never leave my house and I've never been to a party before. So I was really upset. We didn't talk, then we started going back and forth the day after, and he basically told me I can't follow his rule. So he broke up with me, which to that I told him, have fun finding a girlfriend you can parent. And I wanted to add that I literally do everything he asks of me, so the one time I want to do something, it's a problem. McMaster0121 says, he's just upset he couldn't control you. You're better off without him. Sees. Usanam around 20 says, 100%. This guy and his rule told him the proper response. If you were my daughter, I'd be telling you to definitely leave that relationship and don't go back. And at your age, you need to meet people and find out what you want. This is the actual conversation I'm having with my son that's your age. Capella Lee says, he basically told me I can't follow his rule, so he broke up with me. WTF. This dude is a loser. I told him to have fun finding a girlfriend you can parent. Perfect response. You go, girl. Fish Sticks Off says, you're way better off. I see session 3326 says, he's judging you by his own standards. Generally speaking, the people who have an issue with their other half going to parties etc are the ones who would cheat at parties given the opportunity themselves. Thank God he showed you who he was now, and you didn't waste years of your life on him. Personal Outlet 101 says, there is nothing more to understand really other than he is a child looking for someone he can control and have at his beck and call. You did nothing wrong, and him saying you broke his rule is honestly disgusting on his part. A boyfriend who cares doesn't have rules for their girlfriends. Maybe boundaries, but going to a party is not it. You seem to have avoided a massive problem for the future if you stayed with him. Acreage 26 says, that was quite thoughtful of him to save you the effort of breaking up with him. Or maybe he thought he'd get 50 points for going out first. Regardless, 4 years down the crapper is still a small price to pay for getting rid of this controlling manipulator. Choice Run 8019 says, as a guy, he's a dumb bus, you dodged a bullet. r/offmychest. We click caffeinated says, my boyfriend waited at the airport with me till my flight took off. I have been with my current partner, we're both 26, for about a year. I recently had a long early morning flight. I travel a lot and have always traveled alone, and I hate it so much. I get bored and anxious at the airport. My boyfriend came to drop me off and got its sap ass to hang out with me at the airport the entire time till my flight boarded. This is the first time someone did this for me. I'm not easily moved to the point of tears, but this did it for me. I cannot stop thinking about this man during my trip, and I cannot get over how thoughtful this gesture was. I'm tearing up now as I write this. Not only was he up and awake at 5 AM, he stayed till 7:30 AM and then drove home in traffic and went to work. He's an airport dad, and he made sure I had everything I needed and got me a very nice breakfast snack, and I leaned on him and we looked through Reddit together as I waited. He watched my bags when I went to the bathroom, and I didn't have to worry about anything. I told my friends about this, but they've all been in long-term relationships, so this is normal to them. I know it may seem pretty underwhelming, but to me this moment changed my life because I now see a husband in my partner. I don't know if this is the right place, but my heart is so full of love I don't know what to do with it. Up North 77 says, I didn't know WhatsApp was a thing. We click caffeinated says, it was nothing, just a form you fill saying you're seeing off your family and they take a scan of your id. Easy to get in our local airport. Kalufid 42 says, same. I thought you needed a ticket to get past security. Combination E5516 says, been married 33 years and together 35. He's never done that once for me. Sounds like a really thoughtful guy you have. We click caffeinated says, he's so exceptional I'm just lucky our paths crossed. Between Sky and Earth says, really lovely BF. Integral Fox 6487 says, let me tell you a story that this reminds me of, and I hope yours has the same ending. When my wife and I had been dating about 3 months, she got sick late at night with what turned out to be really low blood pressure, feeling dizzy and nauseous, etc. She lived literally across the street from the hospital and texted me at 1 AM that she was going to the emergency room but was worried about blacking out. I drove 40 minutes to her place and went with her, got home about 7 AM when she was treated and back at her flat safely. I've heard her tell this story many times and she says that was the day she realized we might have a long future together. That story happened in March 2005 and we recently celebrated our 17th wedding anniversary. I hope your story works out just as well for you and your BF. Sounds like you both deserve it. Best of luck. Wilk Dreamer says, congratulations in finding a keeper. Before I got a car, I would take the subway with my girlfriend, now wife, all the way to her house late at night. I always worried about her taking the train home alone at night and I enjoyed spending the extra time with her so it never bothered me. Then I would take the train back home by myself. Having someone who just likes spending time with you is a lovely thing. Enjoy it. Off my chest. Realistic Aspect 1123 says, I'm naming my abuser and his command TWDV. It's time to expose the truth. On the 21st of November 22 I was beaten, raped and strangled by its one Allen Sword, a sailor assigned to Iwatpak Norwest at TTF Bangor. Why? Because he was insanely jealous and looking to ruin my career. A narcissist to boot. He was trying to force me out of the Navy and be entirely dependent on him. His command gave him grief because I refused to be a stay-at-home wife. On the 22nd of November 22 Allen Sword admitted in text message form that he thought he was the aggressor. He tried to get me to lie about what he did. When I refused he decided to tell Chief Andres Garcia he only hit me, omitting the rest. On the 23rd of November 22 I received a call from LT Jason Martz who was the officer in charge at the time, during which I informed him I had been seen at a hospital. LT Martz told me, we want to keep this in-house. I reported to the command I was due to check into, not identifying them as they are an innocent party and I intend to protect the innocent people who helped me. This intensified the retaliation. Senior Chief Rose Williams was by far the worst retaliator. This female went after me, harassed me during working hours, lied to investigators, and aided Allen in committing parental alienation. Now this female had it in for me before all this went down. Earlier in 2022 she went on a smear campaign when I was 2 weeks out from deploying on an IA. Went to the command I was assigned to and spread lies. I believe but do not have proof that she may have encouraged Allen to try to find a way to force me out of the Navy to be a stay-at-home wifey. My command at the time to the best of my knowledge told her to go suck a dick basically. Allen violated the MPO/CPO a few times aided by Williams. My command at the time advocated for me, and took it seriously. Knowing I what can TTF it got swept under the rug. At the court-martial TTF/IWATIC was all about supporting Alan. When I walked into that courtroom to read my statement, the bailiff was giving me the hostile stare down. When it came time for the sentencing, in front of my jaganto paralegal, Williams, who was on brig escort detail, lunged at me. I was able to walk away. Alan was only charged with 2 counts Article 128B. I was coerced into taking the plea deal. The defense threatened if I pursued the rape and the strangulation they'd use a resolved and unrelated PPD diagnosis to discredit me. But I wasn't allowed to use Alan's suicide attempt/ideation while on the Connecticut against him. Alan asked for clemency, waive that forfeiture of pay for 6 months to provide for his family. I initially refused, citing he had had 14 months prior to his confinement to do so, but chose not to. But once again I had to accommodate my perp. Well, it was all a farce, my friends. Mysteriously the allotment got stopped. And he got the money. It took months of my victim legal counsel digging through the frickin' bullshit, all the lies to get a solid answer. Yet again the system is aiding my abuser and possibly forgetting that I'm the victim. Because of the brutal beating, rape and strangulation, I'm being medically retired from the Navy at 50% and they've rated me permanently at 100% disabled. I have PTSD/MST from the trauma of the assault and the retaliation I experienced. I have incomplete paralysis in my leg and face from being bludgeoned by his fists. I have a nerve injury in my neck, but according to the defense, because she didn't black out, so it wasn't strangulation. Enjoy your downfall. I'm watching. By the way, soon you'll be addressing me as ma'am or madam retiree. You're welcome. Inf for life says. That whole chain of command is scum, and I hope your future is filled with blessings, and that this is filled with justice from somewhere, anywhere else. Orphanizy says. The last line, you're welcome for my service. I love it. I'm sorry but not surprised to hear of all the pushback you're receiving. What can I say? It's just wrong. I hope you get some kind of justice. Nakaladude says. Keep us updated, good for you, and I'm proud of anyone who does this, it's not easy. Lizardazio says. This is why you don't frick with military. Either you're broken by them, or you turn into them and break others. I'm so sorry for what happened, and I do hope you see true justice and healing in the end. Maybe try to review your case with civilian lawyer and see if you can go through civilian court to get recourse and go to as many news and public outlets to amplify your voice. Only if you want, of course, but I think it's worth looking into. Tata Booled Up says. You're welcome for my service, made me laugh a lot. Like, yeah, you're damn right, we are grateful for your service, Queen. Fricking SLOY. Joe6314 says. Thank you for your service, to whichever country is yours, you sound like a strong woman, and I'm sorry for the injustice you have received at the hands of the people you served. I don't feel pity, I feel that would not be welcomed, but I feel that anger deep inside on behalf of a total stranger who has been treated so poorly, so many times, and on such a high level, that the people responsible deserve the shame coming their way and so much more. I hope your post brings everything they deserve, and that your future brings you peace and happiness. Decent Barracuda 8460 says. That is beyond frick edition. I'm incredibly sorry this happened to you. From one vet to another, thank you, sister, for your service. If I still had my connections, the perp might have had an accident in the black of night on a ship in the middle of nowhere. Were I still in, I'd do it myself. It'd be one left worthless piece of shit the world would have to suffer. Off my chest. Silver Scallion 1127 says. My sister literally is the worst human being ever, and I want everyone to know her shitty behavior and her domestic violence case. TW, DV think this bothers me so much, because I obviously grew up with her, but then heard about her domestic violence case with her now ex-husband. I couldn't help but to get to know it more. Her ex, Jim, in my opinion was, still, an extremely nice guy when I met him, and we clicked pretty well despite of my sister and I never really getting along in the first place. I just tolerate her and play with their kids. But what happened in the end was that he ended up hitting her. Was he wrong? Absolutely, but as soon as I heard about it, it gave me some flashbacks of how my sister can be very gaslighting to our parents, our older brother, and would not be happy if things don't happen her way. They are currently going through a custody case with their kids. Everyone is expected, looked down on Jim as I did too at first, to lay his hands on a woman, but since this is my sister, I couldn't help but ask him about it. He was really nervous at first, but I really wanted to know his side. He then just burst into tears, a 6'3" man, his wife is 5'4" slim to medium build, who's a bit on the muscular side, which didn't help the look. Took a while to let out that she has been abusing him since the beginning and no one believed him, not even the police with video evidence, showed some to me too. They straight up told him that, because he's a big fella, it wouldn't be taken so seriously, so he had to live with thinking his wife would just abuse him when she wanted to. There was even a time when she smacked him hard while he was sleeping for snoring too loudly. He basically said he wanted to leave the house to cool off for 10 minutes while they were arguing. My sister took it was disrespect and threw shoes at his car and then a metal can, denting his car. All right in front of their kids. Jim had enough and SL4'd her open-handed. Sister took it as a shock, tried H1TTing him as usual, but he blocked it off and punched her, closed fist right in the right jaw, and bruised her. She was still up, but ran away and called the cops. Instant regret. This honestly sounds like her to generally provokes people. None of the males ever laid a hand on her in my family, so we may have better control, but what Jim did was for sure wrong but logical to happen in the heat of the moment. Not only she didn't let him leave, but intended to make things worse will be overlooked because of his actions. There's way too many things to list that my sister had done to her past boyfriends that were overlooked. One was even arrested over 10 years ago while they were dating, and still don't know the story behind that. This affected even me because I love their kids like they are my own, and Jim was a better person to talk to than my toxic sister, and it bothers me to hear that all of a sudden his bad choice of an action will overshadow that he was a victim first. My sister even put him on blast through social media and kept getting labeled as a woman B3-ater. I just don't know if I want to be around my sister after this. Eater, my sister a bus Jim too many times to count. At least once every few months by constantly slap his face and groin. He showed me quite a few video evidence that was overlooked. He felt he couldn't leave because he had no family and didn't want to leave his kids behind. Hobbit 2112 says, "That's a really difficult situation. Honestly, I'd help him find a decent lawyer and show that lawyer the evidence and that he probably feared for his life. I'm not a lawyer at all, but I would certainly help him out as much as possible and lawyer the hell up. There's a lot going on here that I know I can't say anything on. Best of luck." Milshiak P20 says, "Honestly, his behavior sounds like reactionary abuse. I'm not excusing it, but it's a shame that her behavior went on for so long. Honestly, IDK how your brothers feel about it, but I would honestly talk to them about this. I would say something along the lines of something didn't feel right. I talked to him, and his experience lined up a lot with our experience with our sister. He told me that he was dealing with abuse constantly. He tried to call the police, but they laughed him off, etc. He tried to leave the situation initially, etc. IDK what kind of people your brothers are, So maybe you ought to take that into account, but having them on his side might really aid in him getting the justice he needs. Maybe you / them coming out about their story, if you / they feel comfortable, would help as well. The kids also don't need to be around an abusive parent. I think that's important to take into account too. I think that someone needs to start looking into their mistreatment. We see often in times where there's spousal abuse, there's child abuse too. But that's just my 2 cents. Call me Marmotty says. You would probably really help his case if you gave the police a statement. Jill from Oklahoma 13 says. Your sister sounds like mine. Her husband is still with her, willingly enduring her oath, because he's afraid the courts will side with her for custody and he doesn't want to leave their kids alone with her, even for weekend visitations. He told me, if he stays in the home, he can be the distraction and take the abuse for them. It breaks my heart, because he's the best thing that's ever happened to her, but she shits on him constantly. I'm afraid his situation will eventually end the same way. Any Club 5238 says. Yee, my ex-wife would hit me occasionally, and I wouldn't even raise my voice. I weigh like 80 pounds more than her, muscular build. It got really old, and one day, after she was moved out, she attacked me again trying to get my phone and I just gave her the same emotionless look, and are you done? After she left, she texted me, you assaulted me. Do you want me to go to the police? To which I said, go ahead. Let them know I'll be home all night. Well, police arrived, I got arrested, and was in jail for 4 hours, didn't see my daughter for 110 days, and was eventually found not guilty. This happened during the whole Me Too movement, which makes it even more embarrassing. She tried leveraging to that into getting full custody, which failed. She didn't face any consequences and won't ever, of course. Off my chest. Undercover Throwaway 0 says. Living every parent's second to worst nightmare right now. Because of other parents. I'm not really sure what this world has come to in regards to parents these days. Not that I'm the best parent that walks the earth, but I'm surely not too bad. When did it become cool for the parents of teenagers to fight with their kids? Or for their kids? When did it become cool for parents to drive 3 adults and 8 juveniles to someone's house to commit a horrific assault on a boy and his mother that landed them both in the hospital with lifelong injuries when she stepped out of the house to ask people to leave her property? Apparently it must be, since it happened to my son's friend and his mom. When did it become cool for parents to show up at a school and assault a different kid when they get a phone call from their juvenile that the kid he doesn't get along with is outside waiting for a ride? The dad decides to jump out of the car and physically put his hands on another juvenile. Apparently it must be, since it happened to my son. When did it become cool for a group of teenagers to be driven by parents to where another juvenile is to beat and rob them just because their kid doesn't like them? Meanwhile the parents stand there and encourage the whole thing again. Happened to a different one of my son's friends. When did it become cool for parents to pull up on a juvenile and threaten to kill them and then pull a gun on them? Then make a ton of other threats to the point where this kid is staying with family out of town to keep him safe while the police move slowly on doing anything about it. Happened to my son, so I must be missing something. Is this what parents do these days? It's the same parents in every single one of these stories. Is this what I should be doing? Should I say forget the police and solve it by doing something equally as insane? Like WTF is actually going on? And why does it take the police so long to do anything? It's extremely difficult to have faith in our justice system when it seems like they do not care unless it impacts them or their lives personally. We have the dad on our side at least. How long until I can bring my son home and not fear for his life just simply because he befriended a kid who had issues with another kid? So while my son's group of friends is being terrorized by the parents of a kid who doesn't like them, all of us have to sit here and hope the worst doesn't happen before something is done. And these people are known to police. Not in a good way either. I just cannot anymore. Atoms from Thusters says, many parents are just human garbage, so their little angel is being raised to become much the same. As an educator, we have seen a huge spike in rising violence with parents in full support / encouragement / involvement. This is always very hard for me because I really do love and believe in all of my students. The parents really show you the uphill battle you're fighting when trying to support kids. It isn't cool. It isn't the norm. It isn't okay. In fact, they're actively making the life of their own kid much harder. They're increasing the chance for their own child to get seriously injured or worse. They either don't care too much, or have too much to pride to want their kids to turn out better than them. I don't know where you're located, but I'd contact law enforcement every time your son is targeted or a witness. You can start with the school's resource officer. They're actual police officers that work directly with students and families within a school. The real world won't give a shit what the reasoning is. The real world will only deal out, around and find out style consequences. Intrepid Middle 5047 says, I don't know what I would do honestly besides get a gun. Many probably won't like my answer, but if people were showing up to my house to assault my child, they're getting shot. You can kill someone by beating them, and that's not a risk I'm willing to take with my child's life. If the police can't do anything, then I'd have to do what I think is best. It's awful to feel this way, but I can only imagine the terror you feel every day, and no one should have to live in fear for their child's safety like a sitting duck just waiting for the next attack. Nope. I'm sorry this is your life right now. It's not right. Undercover Throwaway 0 says, I'm prepared if they come to my house, like they did his friend. I will not end up like his friend's mom who has to have a steel plate attached to her eye socket because they shattered it with brass knuckles and a car jack. Absolutely not happening. My son and his friends aren't the most straight and narrow kids either. I'm not one of those parents that's going to pretend my kid is absolutely perfect. I'm a teacher, I know better than that. And if we were talking about 16-year-old kids who wanted to fight every time they saw each other and risk getting themselves in trouble, then so be it. Anytime my son has been in trouble, I stand by him, but hold him accountable. I'd do the same in a situation like this. But we are not talking about teenager shit here. We are talking about adults terrorizing teenagers because they get involved in their kids' drama. And it wasn't my son's drama to begin with. It was his friends. It's absolutely insane. The dad has found reason to believe the police aren't doing anything because of the father possibly being an informant. The dad has now opened an internal investigation. I've since been warned that it'll get much worse before it gets better. Off my chest. Pasture 5805 says, found out someone I know rped my girlfriend. I will try to keep this as short and succinct as possible. I'm a college student and I started dating my girlfriend last year. Since the beginning of our relationship, I knew my girlfriend had a very negative experience with a guy prior to us dating. However, she never mentioned a name. I have always been very supportive of her. Around a month ago we came to the unfortunate realization that the guy who sexually assaulted her is a friend of one of my friends and someone who I have hung out with on a few occasions. He has even been in my apartment. I had no idea. I ended up calling him on the phone the very next day and engaged in a pretty charged conversation that consisted of me yelling while he tried to make excuses. What are you talking about? It wasn't RPE, because we weren't even drinking etc. I was so mad that I hung up after a couple minutes. I was extremely confrontational during the call, but was careful to not say anything stupid that could be used against me. he's out of town for the summer, so I began trying to focus on better things, knowing I had some time to figure out what to do next. Fast forward to now. I'm still not sure how to proceed. Obviously, my main priority is to support my girlfriend. I understand I shouldn't go around smearing this guy telling everyone what he did, because that would be at my girlfriend's expense. I understand it's not my place to go to the police. I understand it's not my place to tell my friends what he did. I understand I shouldn't go do something stupid. So what do I do then? After a lot of thinking, I've concluded maybe the best thing to do is nothing. Maybe I do nothing about the assaulter and choose to distance myself from the friendships that are related to the situation. I don't see how any amount of drama or destruction of his life would make up for what he did anyways. Then again, why should I lose my friendships because of this guy? Shouldn't it be him that has to lose something? But then I thought even further and realized, would I even want to be friends with people who were friends with this guy, even though they didn't know what he did? I'm sure they're clueless to the situation, but I still find myself almost blaming my friends guilty by association sort of thing. After all, if I hadn't met them, then I wouldn't have met the guy who did it, so this trauma wouldn't have been dug up once again for my girlfriend. Is it unfair to hold it against them? One thing is certain, I definitely cannot be friends with them if the assaulter is as well. One of us has to go. So either I tell the friends what happened, or I move along myself. They're some of the closest friends that I've made so far in college, but I think it may be time to leave them behind. Actually, now that I've written it out, this has become abundantly clear to me. The guy who assaulted my girlfriend is probably returning to town soon, but I'm honestly not too concerned. My girlfriend carries pepper spray and I'm sure has a lot more scared of me right now than I'm of him. It's more of mental anguish that I'm facing. My girlfriend is, rightfully, very scared. The whole situation is just driving me crazy. I'm losing sleep some nights. I don't know if I'm even looking for advice or just avoid to vent to, but any advices? Rosarina says, it's commendable how protective you are over your girlfriend, but have you asked her what she wants? She might want to keep this in her past. I know I sure did. My boyfriend is protective like you, but I would be so mad if he reached out to the guy who hurt me. Cloven Boots says, I'm really sorry you're going through this. Ask your girlfriend what kind of support she would like. As a SAS survivor, what I'd like to see from my fiance, if we were in this situation, would for him to distance himself from that person. Since the person is a friend of a friend, it may be hard to avoid him. But I would want my fiance to just not be around the person. He could still be friends with his friends, and if they ask why he's avoiding the other person, I'd prefer him tell his friends to ask me. Primarily because it's not his story to tell. It's mine, and only if I want to share. So like, if they're having a gaming night and the abuser shows up, I'd want my fiance to leave. It shows support for me, but also I know, if he tried to stay and act like nothing happened, they might end up in a fight. Could be from a bad joke taken wrong, or maybe the abuser decides to confront my fiance. Either way, probably best he removes himself from the situation. Puspwanerman69 says, simple, now we rape him. Comet Pote Blaster says, I went through very similar circumstances with an ex years ago, and I know that feeling of rage that you would have felt immediately after finding out. You've done really well to recognize that your immediate response is to support your girlfriend. Honestly, you've done a lot better than myself and 90% of other guys who have gone through a similar situation and let that rage overshadow your priority of supporting your partner. You're absolutely right not to go to the police or tell anyone about what's happened. She's confided in you as someone she trusts and loves. Don't break that trust and assure her that nothing that happened to her that night was any part her fault. As for your friends, if they were unaware of r/off my chest. Handsoft1 says, my housemate who is doing a PhD in nanotechnology is just so stupid at logical reasoning of common things, it's outrageous. Obviously it wouldn't bother me as much if I wasn't dragged into this whole ordeal with his reasoning. My housemate, who is only 3 years younger than me, is doing a PhD in nanotech at one of the top uni. He's overall very friendly and nice, but my god, he is the most gullible person I have ever met. Like no life skill, and no logical reasoning of everyday life whatsoever. So to start with, one day, he went home, threw away all of our wooden spatulas in the kitchen. I went in, and saw all brand new spatula he bought from the store. So I asked why did he throw them away, they were still very good. And he said they were all having this weird black moldy patch at the tip, so he threw them away. It's frickin' burn, not mold. You cook and the tip of the spatula touch the hot pan and over time, it gets darker. Like okay, fine, at least he replaced them. And mind you, this was 3 months ago, and now all of his new spatula have the darkened patch again. The second time was when he used my non-stick pan, and I was like, fine. And he, I used a metal fork and spoon to stir his egg in it. God knows how long has he been doing it, because I don't typically go around and check on everyone. So one day I saw my pan was left on the stove, so I went in to put it away, and I saw 3 huge scratch marks on it. So I texted the group chat and he replied saying, OMG, I'm so sorry, I didn't know, I will be more careful next time. I didn't know you were not meant to use metal utensils on non-stick. I believe he genuinely didn't know, but like what TF do they teach him in China? Like I know the education system there is pretty tough, and he's doing nanotech, like how TF does he not know this? The third time, he saw me squished some ants, because we have been having some ant problem in the house. He saw me squish them with my finger, and then he told me to be careful, because the chemical from the ant can eat through my hand. Like, are you being for real? It's formic acid at most, and the amount is minuscule. Like who taught this boy chemistry? Then the most recent one, he texted me complaining about the smell in the hallway that has been keeping him up at night, that it makes him unable to sleep, and that makes him almost vomit in his sleep. And he blamed my machine washed clothes hanging in the hallway, and said it was my body odor. He told me that maybe I should consider using more deodorant. He said he was so sorry for saying it, but it has to be said. And I was actually pretty offended. Mind you, I don't have body odor, I'm a nation guy who don't sweat easily, and the past 30 years nobody has ever told me that my body odor makes them vomit in their sleep, not even my partner. I'm not even home most of the time, or when I'm home, I'm staying in my room, so there is no way he could have smelled anything from his room. Plus, this was the first time in 7 months that he said this. I mean, if it was that bad, he would have been dead by now. So it turns out that it's the damp clothes that everyone, all 3 of us, been hanging in the hallway, and the damp can cause some smell. It's really not bad at all, because my other roommate didn't smell anything particularly bad. Plus we had a leaked pipe in the toilet that been soaking into the floor. I was pretty offended, even though I told him it's okay, but I still said I'll add in some conditioner to my washed clothes to hopefully mask away any damp smell. But how the hell is he doing a PhD with engineering being one of the main parts, and he's just coming up with the most ridiculous hypotheses that make absolutely no sense and jump into conclusion like that? I love him, but seriously, he can be so stupid sometimes. It drives me crazy. My metrocad says, people can be super smart and incredibly stupid at once. I was married to a brilliant lawyer, but with zero common sense and questionable spatial reasoning skills. Currently in a relationship with a brilliant doctor, researcher, and his lab mice are probably more emotionally intelligent than he is. He's very sweet, but does his very best to sabotage interpersonal relationships. CraftIantard70 says, from my experience, the smarter the person is academically, the lower their common sense. Fenisade Bizach says. Just sounds like a polite man that focused on his studies over housework. He seems amenable and receptive to feedback. If he's from a different country, maybe cut the guy a break. All these examples seem fairly harmless. William T. Powers says. The answer is staring you right in the face. All his mental energy is focused on one small area and everything else gets the remnants. You think mental energy and focus is unbounded? The school doesn't care if he knows how to use a non-stick pan, they just care that he can follow his curriculum and pay the fees. His program only cares about the work he does there, and he is not bothered by the quality of work outside of his program. Why would he take energy away from what he wants to focus it on? He's speedrunning life. I don't recommend it. Defiant Shirt 5808 says. TBH, I cold gone my whole life without knowing at the metal utensil on non-stick pan thing. Zehotuk Miname says. When you focus your life on a specific degree, it's not out of the norm to lack other skills we see as common sense or a certain type of intelligence. You can only learn so much. They focused all of their sim points on doctor or whatever. Samakay707 says. I remember hearing a story about a man working a carnival. There was a mirror with a hand stretching out, beckoning people to come into the activity. Two students from a nearby college were trying to decipher how the engineering of the hand worked when the hand then wagged their finger in response to their engineering ideas. They then changed their hypothesis to it being very advanced AI. This was in the 1980s. It was just the carnival worker sticking their hand through the mirror. r/offmychest. Theaway 10,037,265,256 says. I just found my boyfriend's Reddit. I wasn't really expecting to find anything, but I was blown away by what I did find. You know how Reddit just kind of tends to bring out the worst in people, because you're anonymous anyways and you can spill all of your unfiltered, dark thoughts? Well, my boyfriend's entire comment history is just him hyping up people in creative and gym/fitness subs. Him telling people they did all look amazing, they have his dream physique, they painted this or that so beautifully, yada yada. It's a Walhalla of love. He is just the most golden goddamn human being. And handsome as shit. And mine. That's all. Hellskitten 216 says. What did you say? You intend to marry this man? The universe approves of that message and congratulations way in advance. Gain Outrageous says. I'm so jaded, I was waiting for the awful stuff. Glad you found a good one. Juan Digok says. Yeah, I'm not that jaded, but I was like, she found out something either incredibly disgusting or incredibly wholesome. Glad it's the second one. Low Image 8980 says. You won. Avgfarumiza says. This is gonna be so good. Point can I bring my food to listen on this while you banter? Darth Atheus says. It happens. Personally, I can't even be mean anonymously. Even when games give the option of being evil, I feel very uncomfortable. People whose brains are set to nice exist. Mamisu says. Okay, I seriously want to show your man my mediocre sewing and knitting and painting by numbers. I bet I'll feel like a crafting goddess afterwards. Ladderhappy says. I believe that it is super important to behave as if your internet history can be made public at any moment. Clocation 8825 says. Wow, I'm so lonely, but congrats. Athermacep says. Checking my comment history in case my wife stumbles upon it or my mom learns how to use Reddit. Thoughts into Moil says. This is so uplifting. She's a stargazer says. Okay. Let me put my pitchfork away. I thought this was going to be awful. He's just a golden retriever. Damn. You really had me in the first half. Sincerely Lucifer says. Wow, love that for you. My husband's is just porn. Friendship True 4695 says. It makes me happy knowing there are people who essentially make being an anonymous hype man their hobby. So sweet. Off my chest. Platform Crazy 3539 says. I've seen my girlfriend's sister naked countless times and I've never told her. When I first started dating my girlfriend, her and her sister still lived at their dad's house. Due to reasons, my girlfriend's dad was almost never home, so their house was always the hangout spot. Her and her sister are practically twins in regard to their odd habits. They both have the same two weird habits. Both were very reclusive in their house, rarely leaving their rooms, unless it was for the bathroom or to get something to eat in the kitchen. Both, for whatever reason, also used to hang out naked in their rooms for hours after a shower. Most people dry off then get dressed immediately, but not these two. The way the house was set up, I had to walk through the kitchen to get to my girlfriend's room. Her sister's bedroom door opened into the kitchen. I know, weird. Her sister never, I repeat, never closed her bedroom door. As you passed through the kitchen from the front door, you were forced to walk toward the sister's door before turning to head to my girlfriend's room. You could see most of her bed and her computer desk through her open door. On literal countless occasions I've seen her sister lying on the bed playing on her phone, sitting legs crossed style doing makeup in front of the mirror, or sitting at her computer playing Sims or scrolling Facebook. To state it again, all those activities were while fully naked wearing nothing but a towel wrapped around her hair. She never acknowledged me, never said hi, never even turned her head to look who it was, and never attempted to close the door to prevent her sister's boyfriend from seeing. She always stayed focused on whatever she was doing. After months of dating, I no longer texted my girlfriend to come meet me at her front door. I would just walk in and go back to her bedroom. This was with my girlfriend's permission, of course. There was a few times when I first arrived at their house and I entered the kitchen and her sister was standing at the fridge rummaging for food. Again, completely naked except for a towel wrapped around her hair. She'd look at me, give me a half smile, and continue on her way. It was just too casual for what was happening. She wasn't always naked. It's not like this happened every time I was there. But over the course of about 2 years, I'd say it averaged out to about once every week or two that she'd be naked when I arrived or left. I never brought it up to my girlfriend because the first time I saw the sister naked I was extremely embarrassed to tell my girlfriend. Then it just kept happening, and then at some point I felt it would be even more weird if I waited this long to bring it up. I imagined my girlfriend responding like, "Yeah, I've seen my sister naked how many times and you're just telling me now?" My girlfriend and I now live together in our own home. She still hangs out naked after a shower. In all the years, the topic of her sister being naked around the house never came up. In my mind, I logically think my girlfriend had to know her sister left her door open and that it'd see. I used to go there about 5 days a week. There had to be some comprehension of the likelihood of me seeing the sister. If I saw nudity that much, then my girlfriend who lived there had to also be aware of the view from her kitchen, the same kitchen I had to walk through every time I visited. Simply Passin Thrau says. Just pitching in here against the nudists, that it is also perfectly acceptable to be uncomfortable seeing your GF's sister's naked body. Yes, for many people, nudity is normal. For arguably more, it is not. You are not weird, a prude, nor creepy for being uncomfortable with being subjected to seeing another's naked body. Should you stress it? No, obviously not. But I too would be wildly uncomfortable seeing my significant other's sibling naked once, let alone numerous. Glad you live on your own now, Chief. Maybe just try not to think about it anymore, now that it's not a situation you're still working through. Minama Coldbusum says. They're obviously a family that's comfortable with nudity. Don't worry about it. Everyone has skin. She's probably fully aware that her sister doesn't close the door. She's probably passed and seen her naked in the exact same way loads of times. I used to live with friends, and we were always running around half naked getting ready, etc. My friend's boyfriend initially was all oh, shit, sorry, and covered his eyes, but eventually he realized we didn't care, it's just skin, so he just got used to it and stopped mentioning it. Occasionally, he'd just shout, boobs, if any of us were really quite naked, probably to let us know he was there, doesn't have to be a big deal. Serious Ad 8168 says, I really like the idea of a dude just walking in a dorm and screaming boobs, then continue what he was doing. Positive Stretch 419 says, your GF knows all of this. They commonly were nude and not an issue. You should have had a conversation about nudity with your GF after initially seeing GF nude in the house, and probably should try it yourself, you might like it. Hopper Full Plantin 5475 says, honestly just ignore it. If she isn't coming on to you, and your girlfriend doesn't care, like you said she's obviously aware and acts the same way herself, then I don't see the problem. If you are uncomfortable with it, it's on you to let her sister know that it bothers you. If you don't care and aren't intentionally ogling her, there's no real issue here, except that you aren't used to casual nudity. Fartingle says, I had an ex that was similar. I discussed I was slightly uncomfortable with it. She wasn't worried about being naked and being seen. She was comfortable like that. She understood I could get slightly distressed, but I soon learned there was nothing sexual about it. It was just skin. I also see more skin in my line of work, so it soon just became another body and nothing had to be sexual. Have a chat, you'll probably find it's way simpler than you think. Off my chest. Reasonable Hurry 3858 says, my ex cheated on me with her boss, and her friend blamed me for it. A few weeks ago, my 24 male girlfriend, 26F, now ex, and I broke up after I found out she had been cheating on me with her boss. We had been together for 3 years and living together for the past year. I was devastated, but I kept the apartment since my name is on the lease. Just a few days after the breakup, one of her friends, 23 female, showed up at my door. I thought she was there to grab some of my ex's leftover stuff, so I let her in. Big mistake. She sat me down and started telling me that my ex blamed me for the breakup. According to her friend, my ex said I wasn't a good enough boyfriend, that I was neglectful and distant, and that I deserved to be cheated on. I was floored. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Her friend then tried to convince me that I should apologize to my ex and try to get her back. She even suggested that maybe it was partially my fault for not being more attentive. I was in shock, feeling guilty and questioning everything. But after she left, I realized how absurd the whole situation was. My ex cheated on me, and somehow, I was being blamed for it? It took me a while to process, but I'm finally starting to see things clearly. I deserve better, and I'm not going to let them make me feel like I'm the one who did something wrong. Notable 2410 says, her friend did you a favor. As your ex is probably expecting you to contact her, perhaps you should message her and let her know that her friend made you feel much better and reminded you why the two of you should never get back together. Then block your ex without explaining anything. Is any aspect of her friend more attractive than that of your ex? If so, try to work that into the message. Reasonable Hurry 3858 says, while I appreciate the suggestion, I think it's best for my own peace of mind to take the high road and focus on moving forward positively. Thank you for the advice though. Notable 2410 says, probably wise to avoid the drama, it's much easier as a spectator to come up with stupid ideas. OK Reindeer 93 says, dude, that's rough. Your ex cheats with her boss, then her friend has the nerve to blame you? Lol, screw that noise. You dodged a bullet. You deserve way better than that drama. Andrew X08 says, bro, cheating is always wrong. Even if you were bad or good, move on, man, God has better things for you. Fieldman1313 says, I wonder if your ex just had a collision with one of the cold hard facts of life and is regretting her decisions now. There is a good chance that when she told her boss that they could go public, he informed her that he didn't want to hurt his chances with the other women at work. Her friend was probably a messenger sent to get you to take her back on her terms. I actually really liked the suggestion that another editor made to thank your ex for confirming why you needed to break it off. Freshab393 says, that fact her friend told you to apologize is insane. Wicked Sabbath says, cheating, under any circumstance, is never justified. I wish you all the best in your life. Platypusaurus says, the other thing to consider is there is no telling what your ex told her friend either. Sounds like she didn't say positive things about you to her. If you have proof of the cheating, I would let the company's HR department know what's going on. Also, if the guy is in a relationship, you might consider letting his partner know. Also, stay no contact. The only thing she can do for you now is bring you down with her. r/offmychest. ProudPay2128 says, I slept with my ex-husband and his boyfriend last night. My ex-husband is my best friend. We got married as an arrangement to get out of our strict religious community. He's gay and I didn't want to get married the way my parents wanted, so we got married together. A few years later we moved, he came out, and we divorced. My mom discovered that I still had a good relationship with him and called me to scold me, and then I revealed that our cov marriage was my idea. Things got a little crazy with her, so my ex-husband offered to let me stay here for safety. After thinking about it for a few days, I accepted. I'm still staying with them, and they drive me to work. However, last night we watched a series, Fallout, in the couch. He was hugging his boyfriend, and I was just sitting at a distance. But it seems like I fell asleep on top of his boyfriend. I don't know for how long, but I woke up to the sound of gunshots coming from the TV, and I was on his shoulder. I tried to apologize, but they said it was okay. We kept watching, but I was still falling asleep, so the boyfriend kind of became my pillow without me wanting him to. I've been sleeping on the couch for a few days now, but I don't really like it. So when they said we were going to sleep, I was kind of sleepy drunk, like when you're that tired you kind of act drunk, and told them to take me to the bed. They helped me get up, and we managed to fit into the bed with me between them. IDK. But I felt loved and safe and cozy. I could forget about my current problems. In the morning, my ex was still sleeping, and his boyfriend had already woken up. Everything was normal, but I have conflicting feelings, maybe because I haven't felt so spoiled and loved in a long time. Maybe I'm just a little desperate for some affection, but it felt so good, so much so that I don't know how to think about it rationally. My feelings are all over the place. Maybe someone can help me put a name to what I'm feeling right now. IDK, if it's possible to keep sleeping in the same bed tonight or tomorrow night, or until I go back to my place, do I accept? Do I reject it? IDK, how to do it without being awkward. Kanarai says, you were feeling platonic intimacy. It doesn't sound like you have romantic feelings for your ex or his boyfriend. You should see to keep it that way. For now, I would apologize if I put anyone out by sleeping in the bed with them. If they invite you back, accept if you would like. But I wouldn't ask again. Intimacy amongst your friends and loved ones is a beautiful thing. I'm glad you have warmth and safety. ProudPay2128 says, oh, thank you for telling me the name of it. So, is it kinda common? Kanarai says, I think it's common to have a good and loving relationship with your ex-husband, especially if the marriage was a fake to protect you both. I think it's common to have a good relationship with your ex-new partner. I encourage both of these things. I don't think it's common to sleep in the bed with them, but I also don't think it's wrong if everyone was comfortable. I wouldn't make it a habit. Couples want their privacy and boundaries are important. When staying in someone's house, it is easy to overstay your welcome by interjecting yourself where you shouldn't be. But I think platonic closeness and tenderness is good for people. It's good to feel loved. Just don't become confused by what it is or isn't. Toasty Adams says, not what I expected to read when I saw the title. Richer16 says, yep, I thought those two banged her. Toasty Adams says, right. I was like, wait, what? Coffee Mutt says, to put this in context, you were their cat. ProudPay2128 says, ha 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 ha. Be or Die says, oh, it was literally just sleeping? Ash Bertrand says, well, this is unexpectedly wholesome. Potential at 1397 says, what exactly are you looking for here? Just a cuddle session? If you are looking for more, you will probably end up hurt. ProudPay2128 says, comfort, I think. I don't want it to be something else, and I'm sure they don't want it either. MM2KK says, from the title I was expecting something totally different. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.